back when I was maybe 16, that I was put in charge of watching my younger cousin, Liam, and his 4 friends. During a sleepover, my aunt and uncle, the Hendersons, were paying me $100 to supervise for the night. It seemed like a dream gig. All I did was play Mario Kart and Halo with a bunch of hyped-up 10-year-olds in their finished basement in the quiet suburb of Maple Brook. For most of the evening, surrounded by the glow of the big screen TV and the smell of pizza and sour candy, I thought it would be the easiest money I ever made. But things took a huge, gut-wrenching turn for the worse. Around 11 o'clock, when I heard distinct, heavy footsteps coming from the main floor upstairs. We were all still in the basement, the kids shrieking with laughter over a close race. I paused the game, and the room fell silent except for the low hum of the furnace. 2 of the other kids, Ethan and Noah, had heard the sounds. 2. Their smiles vanished. My blood ran cold as I did a quick count. 5 kids were right here on the sectional couch. My Aunt Sharon and Uncle Greg were supposed to be at a charity auction in the city and wouldn't be back until after 1. No one else should have been in the house. I swallowed hard, my gums suddenly tasting like chalk, when my eyes landed on the staircase. The basement door at the top of the stairs was wide open, a rectangle of darkness leading to the main floor. I was certain I'd closed and latched it. Trying to keep my voice steady, I told them all to stay put and be absolutely quiet. I crept up the carpeted stairs, each step feeling like a mile. My plan was just to pull the door shut. But when I reached the top, I remembered with a spike of panic this old door only locked from the outside with a deadbolt. There was no way to secure it from the basement side. From below, I heard a whimper. I hurried back down, my heart hammering against my ribs. New plan, I whispered, forcing calm. Everyone into the workout room. Now, the workout room was a small, windowless space off the main basement area, behind a sturdy door. I ushered the 5 wide-eyed boys inside, then ran back to kill the TV and every light, plunging the rec room into inky blackness before joining them. I pulled the workout room door shut behind me, and we were sealed in total darkness. The only sound our ragged breathing. We listened, pressed against the door. The footsteps from above moved deliberately across the living room floorboards, directly toward the basement staircase. Then came the most horrible sound. The slow, metallic creak of the basement door swinging fully open on its hinges. A moment of silence was followed by the heavy, deliberate thump of someone stomping down each wooden stair, one by one, in no hurry at all. One of Liam's friends, a little boy named Jake, started crying in soft, itching sobs. "Shut the hell up," I hissed, the fear making me harsh. I wasn't thinking about comfort, I was thinking about survival. I braced my shoulder against the door and frantically wedged a metal folding chair under the knob, then piled a stack of heavy barbell weights against the base. It felt pathetic. We listened, frozen, as the intruder reached the bottom of the stairs. Their footsteps moved across the basement carpet. We heard the distinct click and groan of the old door to the boiler room being opened. A few moments of silence passed, then the sound of it being firmly closed again. Then, the footsteps came toward our door. The screams from the children were immediate, primal sounds of terror that filled the tiny, dark room. The doorknob to the workout room began to turn. I threw my full weight against the door, the kids piling behind me, a pathetic human barricade. The knob jiggled, then turned again, more forcefully. I prepared for a crash. But then, it stopped. We heard the heavy footsteps retreating, rushing back up the stairs. A moment later, we heard them moving directly above our heads, across the living room, and toward the front of the house. This was years before every kid had a cell phone, so calling for help wasn't an immediate option. We waited in the suffocating dark for what felt like an eternity. When I finally mustered the courage to lead the shaken group upstairs, we found the front door swinging open, letting in a cold night breeze. Upstairs, the master bedroom and the guest room had been violently ransacked. Drawers dumped, mattress flipped, jewelry box emptied onto the floor. The house was otherwise empty. I called all the kids up, gathered them in the lit kitchen, and called the police. Some cash and jewelry were gone. But as the officers took our statements and the parents finally arrived, the overwhelming feeling wasn't anger about the stolen items. It was a deep, trembling relief. As long as nobody was hurt, we were all, in that moment, desperately happy. I was getting paid a whopping $250 to watch a couple's son, Caleb, while they went to a ski lodge in Frostfall, Vermont, for the weekend. This was the first night, a Friday, and a historic blizzard was howling outside, painting the world in swirling white. Caleb, who was 7, had been put to bed hours ago. I was curled in the living room of their modern cabin, trying to watch a movie, the wind rattling the windows. A knock at the heavy oak door made me jump. I glanced at the clock. 11:53 p.m. I muted the TV and stayed dead still. Not even 10 seconds later, the knock became a furious pound. Open the door. Open the door. Open the door. It was the sound of 2 or 3 men, their voices raw and angry, yelling over the wind. I felt my heart seize, a cold stone dropping into my stomach. Terrified, I crawled to the side window and peeled back the blinds just an inch. A man was standing right on the other side of the glass, his face a blurred pale mask in the storm dark, staring directly at the spot where I was hiding. I fell back, scrambling away on my hands and knees. My legs were jelly, but I managed to get to my feet and sprint to the kitchen phone, my fingers fumbling on the keypad. I got through to 911, my voice a frantic whisper, the dispatcher told me, her tone grimly apologetic, that due to the blizzard conditions, response times were severely delayed. It could be a while. She told me to take the child and hide somewhere safe, and to stay on the line. But in the heat of the blind panic, hearing another thud bang on the door, I wasn't thinking clearly. Just hurry, I choked out and hung up. As I ran back through the living room, I realized the banging had suddenly stopped. The silence was somehow worse. I dared another peek. The man at the window was gone. A fragile, foolish hope flickered in my chest. Maybe they'd left. Then, from the direction of the home office down the hall, came the explosive, shattering crash of glass. My knees almost buckled. They'd broken a window and were climbing in. There was no more time. I had to get Caleb. I couldn't just leave him. I took the stairs 2 at a time, but as I reached the upper landing, I already heard the sounds of heavy footsteps and low, rough laughter echoing from the downstairs foyer. They were inside. I burst into Caleb's race car-themed bedroom, clamped a hand over his mouth as he startled awake, and without a word, dragged him from his bed. We stumbled across the hall into a large, walk-in closet full of toys and storage boxes. I pulled the door shut, and we sank into a corner, buried behind a pile of old comforters. Minutes dragged into what felt like half an hour as we sat there in the total dark. The only sounds, the muffled wind, and the invaders moving freely through the house below. Caleb began to squeal with terror against my hand. Then, the footsteps reached the top of the stairs. The carpet in the hallway muted them, but we could hear them clearly now. There was more than one person. They entered Caleb's bedroom. The beam of a flashlight swept under the closet door. There weren't many places to hide in this room, and this closet was an obvious choice. In that moment, pressed against the trembling boy, I was absolutely certain we were going to be found. I was reflecting on my whole short life. Sure, it was about to end. Then, faintly at first, then growing stronger, we heard the glorious, electronic wail of a police siren cutting through the storm. From inside the closet, it was the sweetest sound I'd ever heard. I heard one of the men in the bedroom mutter a sharp, angry. As soon as I heard at least 3 pairs of feet rushing back down the stairs, I pushed the closet door open. The police later found their deep footprints in the snowdrifts out back, leading to a gardening shed where they'd tried to hide. There were 5 men in total, all arrested. They were part of a crew that had been targeting isolated homes during severe weather events.